They thought her hands were only fit to scrub floors, but the keys would scream a different truth. Nina Carter, 28, a custodian at Rosewood School of Music, hides a past stained with shadows, fingers once bloodied by a life she fled. Mocked daily, she polishes the grand piano, her silence a shield. Then the gala night shatters it. The star collapses, fever-ridden, and the crowd jeers, forcing Nina to play. Her hands tremble. Liszt's notes erupt. Wild, raw, unstoppable. The room stills, jaws drop, her talent a blade cutting through scorn. This isn't just music. It's her resurrection. Everything shifts now. The meek will rise and the mighty will fall. Subscribe if you care for the broken. Another tale awaits. The air in Rosewood School of Music smelled of polish and privilege, a suffocating blend that clung to Nina Carter's worn-out sneakers as she dragged her mop across the marble floors. At 28, her life was a rhythm of monotony. Sweep, scrub, repeat, each stroke erasing her existence a little more. The students, with their tailored blazers and careless laughter, barely glanced her way. To them, she was invisible, a ghost in a faded gray uniform. But Nina didn't mind. Invisibility was safe. It kept the past buried where it belonged. Her hands, calloused from years of labor, told a different story. Once they danced across ivory keys in a dimly lit room, the air thick with cigarette smoke and desperation. She'd been 16 then, a prodigy in a world that didn't care, until it did, and the cost was too high. A man's scream, a shattered bottle, blood pooling on a cracked floor. She'd run that night, leaving the piano behind, swearing never to touch it again. The music had betrayed her, turned her gift into a curse. Now she cleaned the very instrument she'd once loved, its presence a cruel taunt. The gala was 2 days away, and Rosewood buzzed with anticipation. The star performer, Clara Voss, a 22-year-old violinist turned pianist, was the darling of the faculty. Her posters plastered the halls, golden hair, a smug smile, hands poised over keys Nina knew better than her own heartbeat. Clara's rendition of Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2 was the night's centerpiece, a piece Nina had mastered in secret as a child, her fingers bleeding from practice in a basement with no heat. She'd overheard the professors praising Clara's raw emotion, and it stung, a quiet, bitter ache. They'd never know what raw emotion really sounded like. That evening, as Nina polished the grand piano in the auditorium, the janitor's closet felt heavier than usual. The lights flickered, casting long shadows across the stage. She paused, her reflection staring back from the piano's glossy surface. Dark circles under her eyes, a scar snaking across her left knuckles. A memory clawed its way up, her father's voice slurred and furious. "Play, damn it! Play or I'll make you!" She'd played until her wrists ached, until the neighbors pounded on the walls, until he passed out. Then she'd kept playing, because it was all she had. A crash jolted her back. The auditorium doors swung open, and Professor Hargrove stormed in, his face flushed. "Carter, where's Clara? She's supposed to rehearse." Nina stammered. I don't know, sir. I'm just—" He cut her off, waving a hand. "Useless. Find her, now." She nodded, dropping the rag, her heart thudding. Clara wasn't her responsibility, but defiance wasn't an option. Not here. She found Clara in the practice room, slumped over the bench, sweat beading on her forehead. I can't breathe," Clara rasped, clutching her chest. Nina froze. The girl's skin was clammy, her eyes glassy. Fever, maybe worse. "You need a doctor," Nina said, but Clara grabbed her arm, nails digging in. "Number the gala." "I have to play. They'll kill me if I don't." Her voice cracked, a mix of fear and arrogance. Nina pulled away, dialing Hargrove. Within minutes, paramedics swarmed, and Clara was gone. Stretcher wheels squeaking down the hall. Back in the auditorium, the faculty erupted. "The gala's ruined," Hargrove bellowed. "Who's going to play Liszt now?" The students snickered, their eyes landing on Nina. One of them, a wiry boy with a cruel grin, called out, "Hey, mop girl, you play, right? Give us a laugh." The room roared. Hargrove's gaze narrowed, a twisted smirk forming. "Why not?" "Carter, get up there. Let's see what you've got. Her stomach dropped. The piano loomed like a guillotine. She shook her head, backing away. No, I can't. But they pressed closer, a pack of wolves scenting blood. Come on, Nina, a girl sneered. Don't be shy. Play something, anything. The air thickened, their laughter a noose tightening around her throat. She glanced at the keys, black and white, a battlefield from her past. Her hands shook, the scar on her knuckles burning. She sat. The bench creaked. The room hushed, waiting for failure. Her fingers hovered, then struck. The first note of Hungarian Rhapsody exploded. Sharp, furious, alive. The sound clawed its way out, a beast unleashed. The students flinched. Hargrove's smirk vanished. Nina played and the world tilted. Subscribe if you care for the broken. Another tale awaits. The notes of Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody tore through the auditorium like a storm breaking open a dam. Nina's fingers flew, each chord a shard of her soul slicing through the silence. The mocking laughter died, replaced by a stunned hush that pressed against her skin. She didn't look up, couldn't. Her eyes locked on the keys, her world narrowing to black and white, the rhythm a lifeline pulling her from the abyss. Sweat beaded on her brow, her scarred knuckles flashing under the stage lights. She wasn't just playing, she was fighting. Every arpeggio a scream, every crescendo a defiance of the years that had tried to bury her. The audience didn't exist, not the students with their gaping mouths, nor Professor Hargrove, whose clipboard slipped from his hands and clattered to the floor. Not even the memory of Clara, now a ghost in an ambulance racing through the night. There was only the music, raw and untamed, spilling from a place Nina had locked away. A basement with peeling walls, a father's fists, a mother who'd left without a word. She'd played to survive then, her talent a currency to buy peace. Now it was a weapon, and she wielded it without mercy. The final chord crashed, reverberating through the hall. Silence followed, heavy and electric. Nina's chest heaved, her hands trembling as they fell to her lap. She braced herself for the jeers, the inevitable, not bad for a janitor, laced with venom. But none came. Instead, a single clap broke the stillness, slow, deliberate. Then another. A wave built, tentative at first, then roaring. She dared to lift her eyes. The students were on their feet, some wide-eyed, others whispering. Hargrove's face was a mask of disbelief, his lips parted as if words had abandoned him. Nina. Carter? He stammered, stepping forward. How did you learn that? His voice trembled, a mix of awe and suspicion. She didn't answer. Couldn't. Her throat was raw, her past clawing up like bile. She stood, the bench scraping behind her, and bolted for the exit. The applause chased her, a sound she didn't trust, too close to the cheers of a crowd that had once turned on her. She stumbled into the janitor's closet, slamming the door. Her breath came in gasps, the mop handle digging into her palm as she gripped it for balance. The walls closed in, the scent of bleach suffocating. She'd broken her vow, never again. She'd sworn. The piano was a siren, luring her back to a life she'd escaped. She saw it now, her father's bloodshot eyes, the glint of a knife. The night she'd played until her hands bled and then ran, leaving him crumpled on the floor. She didn't know if he'd lived or died. She hadn't looked back. A knock jolted her. Carter! Hargrove's voice sharp through the wood. Open this door. Now! She froze, her pulse hammering. He didn't wait. Pushed it open, his silhouette filling the frame. Behind him, a cluster of faculty and students peered in, their faces a blur of curiosity and something darker. You can't just walk away from that, he said, his tone clipped. Who are you? I'm nobody, she whispered. But the lie tasted hollow. He stepped closer, his eyes narrowing. Nobody plays Liszt like that. You've got training, real training. And you're going to tell me where it came from. She shook her head, backing into the shelves. I'm just a custodian. Please leave me alone. He didn't. The gala's tomorrow. Clara's out. Pneumonia, they say. We need a replacement. His words landed like blows. You're it. Her stomach lurched. Number I won't. But his smirk returned, cold and calculated. You will. or I'll dig into your past myself. I've got connections, Carter. You don't want that." The threat hung there, a guillotine blade poised to drop. Her past wasn't just shadows, it was a grave, and Hargrove held the shovel. She saw the boy again, the one from the crowd, his grin now a leer as he whispered to a friend. They'd mock her still, but worse, they'd watch her, waiting for her to crack. And the faculty, they'd demand answers she couldn't give without unraveling everything. That night she didn't sleep. Curled on her cot in the basement staff quarters, she stared at the ceiling, the gala spotlight burning behind her eyes. The piano called, its pull a chain she couldn't break. She thought of her mother, who'd once said, "Your hands are magic, Nina. Don't let them take it." But they had. Her father, the world, herself. Now it was hers again, and it terrified her. Morning came too fast. The auditorium buzzed, the gala's preparations in chaos without Clara. Nina stood at the edge, her uniform swapped for a borrowed black dress that hung loose on her frame. The piano gleamed, a beast waiting to devour her. Hargrove's words echoed, "You're it." She could run again, disappear into another city, another life. But her hands ached, the music clawing to be free. She stepped forward. The crowd hushed. And somewhere, deep in her bones, a girl who'd once played through pain whispered, "This time, they'll listen." The auditorium pulsed with anticipation, a sea of faces blurring into a single judgmental beast. Nina stood at the piano's edge, the borrowed black dress clinging to her like a shroud. The fabric scratched her skin, a stark contrast to the soft hum of the crowd. Wealthy donors in silk, professors in crisp suits, students buzzing with gossip. Her hands hovered over the keys, trembling not from fear, but from the weight of what they'd unleashed. Last night's performance had been a spark. Tonight, it could be a fire, or her undoing. Hargrove's threat lingered like smoke. "I'll dig into your past." He stood near the stage, arms crossed, his eyes boring into her. She knew what he'd find if he looked hard enough. A missing girl, a police report, a father who might still be rotting in that basement. She'd been 16, small and scared, but her hands had been steady then, playing through the chaos until she'd fled. Now at 28, those same hands felt foreign, as if they belonged to someone braver. The lights dimmed, a spotlight snapped on, blinding her. Whispers rippled. Who is she? The janitor. A joke, right? Each word a needle under her skin. She glanced at the program clutched by a woman in the front row. Clara Voss, Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. Scratched out, replaced with Nina Carter in hurried ink. The weight of that name, her name, pressed down, a stone on her chest. She wasn't ready for this. She'd never been ready. "Play," Hargrove hissed from the wings, his voice a whip. She flinched, her fingers brushing the keys. The first note rang out, sharp, tentative, then stopped. The crowd stirred, a restless murmur. Her throat tightened. She saw him again, her father, his shadow looming, the bottle shattering against the wall. "Play, Nina!" He'd roared, and she had, until the music drowned his rage. She'd survived that. She could survive this. Her hands moved. The rhapsody erupted, wild, jagged, a torrent of sound that clawed at the air. The notes weren't perfect. They were alive, bleeding with every scar she carried. The audience leaned forward, caught in the storm. She played the slow passages with a tenderness that ached, her mother's lullabies woven in, then unleashed the frenzied runs, her anger, her fear, her fight. The piano shook under her, the wood groaning as if it felt her pain. Halfway through, she faltered. A wrong note, harsh, discordant, snapped the spell. Gasps rose, then snickers. The wiry boy from yesterday smirked, whispering loudly, "Told you she'd choke." Her hands froze, the room spinning. She saw Clara's smug posters, her own reflection in the piano's shine. Scarred, hollow, a fraud. Hargrove stepped closer, his shadow stretching across the stage. "Keep going," he mouthed, but his eyes gleamed with triumph, as if her failure proved him right. She wanted to run. The exit was 20 steps away, freedom, anonymity. But the keys held her, their pull magnetic. She thought of the basement, the nights she'd played until her fingers cramped, the mornings she'd woken to silence and kept going. She'd never stop for him. She wouldn't stop for them. Her hands slammed down. The rhapsody roared back to life, fiercer now, a beast unchained. The wrong note became a memory, swallowed by the fury of her playing. The crowd stilled, their mockery drowned. She poured everything into it, her mother's abandonment, her father's violence, the years of scrubbing floors while her gift withered. The final cadence built, a tidal wave, and crashed, resounding, triumphant. Silence, then chaos. Applause thundered. Chairs scraped as people stood. Shouts of "Bravo!" mingled with stunned murmurs. Nina didn't move, her chest heaving, her vision blurred with tears she wouldn't let fall. Hargrove approached, his face unreadable. "That was extraordinary," he said, but his tone was clipped, calculating. "We need to talk. After." She nodded, numb. The crowd pressed closer, faces alight with awe. But she saw the boy again, his grin gone, replaced by something colder. Envy, maybe fear. A woman in pearls gripped her arm. "Where did you train?" "You're a marvel." Nina pulled away, her voice a rasp. "Nowhere. I just play." Backstage, she collapsed against a wall, the adrenaline fading to a dull ache. Her hands throbbed, the scar on her knuckles pulsing. She'd won them over, for now. But Hargrove's threat loomed, and the past was a hound sniffing her trail. She heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. A shadow fell across her. Not Hargrove. A man in a dark coat, his face obscured, his voice low. "Nina Carter, been a long time." Her blood turned to ice. She knew that voice. Gravelly, laced with menace. A ghost from the basement, a life she'd burned to ashes. "You're supposed to be dead," she whispered. He chuckled, stepping into the light, his eyes glinting. "So were you." The man's face emerged from the dimness backstage, a jagged map of scars and time. Nina's breath caught, her body locking as if the air itself had turned to steel. She knew him. Tommy Rourke, her father's shadow, the enforcer who'd lingered in that basement like a vulture. His eyes, cold and gray, had watched her play through blood and tears, his laughter ablaze when her hands faltered. She'd last seen him through a cracked window as she fled, his silhouette hunched over her father's body. She'd assumed he'd died with him, or hoped it. "You're a hard girl to find, Nina," Tommy said, his voice a slow drip of venom. He leaned against a prop table, casual, as if they were old friends catching up. The gala's applause still echoed faintly, a world away from this shadowed corner. "Thought you'd vanished for good after that night. Left quite a mess." Her mouth went dry, words crumbling before they formed. She glanced at the exit, blocked by his bulk. "I don't know what you're talking about," she lied, her voice thin. He smirked, a gold tooth glinting. "Oh, you do. Your old man didn't take kindly to you running. Neither did I." He stepped closer, the scent of tobacco and sweat rolling off him. "But that playing tonight, that's something else. You've been hiding more than just yourself." Her hands clenched, the scar on her knuckles a live wire. She'd run from him, from that life. 10 years of new names, dead-end jobs, nights spent listening for footsteps that never came. Until now. "What do you want?" she rasped, forcing steel into her spine. Tommy tilted his head, studying her. "What I've always wanted. You owe me, kid. That talent of yours? It's mine to cash in." Before she could respond, Hargrove's voice cut through. "Carter!" He strode in, oblivious to Tommy, his face a storm of ambition and irritation. "We're not done. The donors want you back out there. Photo ops, interviews. You're a sensation." He paused, noticing Tommy, his brow furrowing. "Who's this?" Tommy straightened, his grin widening. "Just an old friend. Catching up." Hargrove's eyes narrowed, but he waved it off. "Fine. 5 minutes, Carter. Don't keep them waiting." He left, his footsteps sharp against the floor, leaving Nina trapped between two predators. Tommy chuckled. "Fancy crowd you've got now. They don't know you're a killer's daughter, do they?" Her stomach twisted. "I didn't kill him," she whispered, but the doubt gnawed. Had she? She'd left him bleeding, the bottle shards her last memory. Tommy shrugged. Doesn't matter. Cops thought you did. I let 'em, kept you off my back. But now, you're worth something. He pulled a crumpled flyer from his coat, Rosewood's gala announcement, her name scrawled in ink. Saw this, knew it was you. That Rhapsody. Same fire I heard back then. You're gonna play for me again, Nina. Private gigs, big money, or I tell Hargrove everything, maybe more. Her vision blurred, panic clawing up her throat. I won't, she spat. I'm done with you. He laughed, low and dark. You don't get to be done. Tomorrow night, midnight, old warehouse on 5th. Bring your hands. He turned, vanishing into the shadows, his threat a noose tightening. She sank to the floor, the dress pooling around her. The gala's glamour felt like a lie now, her triumph a trap. She'd fought to reclaim her music, but it had summoned him, her past, alive and hungry. Hargrove's voice boomed again. Carter! Now! She stood, legs shaking, and stepped back into the light. The donors swarmed, their praise a dull roar. Magnificent! A hidden gem! Cameras flashed, hands grabbed at her. She smiled, mechanical, her mind racing. Tommy knew. He'd drag her back to that basement, turn her gift into chains again. And Hargrove, he'd dig too, his curiosity a ticking bomb. She saw the wiry boy in the crowd, his glare sharper now, whispering to a girl who nodded, eyes glinting with malice. They'd turn on her too, the moment she slipped. Later, in the staff quarters, she stared at her hands. The scar burned, a brand of her sins. She could run, again. New city, new name. But the music wouldn't let her. It had roared tonight, claimed her, and she'd felt alive for the first time in years. Tommy wanted to cage it. Hargrove wanted to own it. She wanted, needed it to be hers. A knock. She flinched, expecting Tommy, but it was Lily, a shy violin student who'd watched her play. Miss Carter? Her voice was soft, eyes wide. That was, beautiful. Can you teach me? Nina blinked, the question a lifeline. I don't know. Lily smiled, hesitant. You should. You're amazing. She left, leaving Nina with a flicker of warmth amid the cold. Midnight loomed. Tommy waited. Hargrove watched. The piano called. She had to choose, run, fight, or play. Her hands curled into fists, the scar a promise. She wouldn't let them take it again. The clock struck 11, its chime a death knell echoing through the staff quarters. Nina sat on her cot, the black dress discarded for her old gray uniform, armor against the night ahead. Her hands rested on her knees, the scar on her knuckles a glowing ember in the dim light. Tommy's words gnawed at her. Midnight. Old warehouse on 5th. A summons to the past she'd fought to bury. She could still feel the rhapsody in her bones, its fire a defiance she couldn't extinguish. But now it was a rope pulling her toward a reckoning. She stood, grabbing a worn jacket, her decision a jagged edge. Running was her instinct. 10 years of it had kept her alive. But Lily's voice lingered, soft and earnest. Can you teach me? The girl's awe had cracked something in Nina, a longing to be more than a ghost. And the gala, those faces, stunned and alive with her music, had lit a spark she couldn't douse. Tommy wanted to steal it. Hargrove wanted to dissect it. She'd let neither have her. The streets were slick with rain as she walked, the warehouse looming ahead, a hulking relic of rust and shadow. Her sneakers splashed through puddles, each step heavier, her pulse a drumbeat. She saw the basement again, her father's rage, Tommy's leer, the piano, her only shield. She'd escaped once. Tonight she'd end it. Inside, the air was thick with damp and decay. A single bulb flickered, casting Tommy's silhouette against cracked walls. He stood by an old upright piano, its keys yellowed and warped, a cruel echo of her past. Right on time, and he said, his grin a slash of menace. Knew you couldn't stay away. He gestured to the bench. Play, like old times. Her stomach churned, but she sat, the wood creaking under her. This ends tonight, she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. He laughed, pulling a chair close. Ends when I say, you're my ticket out of the gutter, kid. Play or I sing to your fancy school. Cops, too. Her fingers brushed the keys, the touch a jolt. She could play, buy time, find a way out, or she could fight. Her eyes flicked to a rusted pipe leaning against the wall, then back to Tommy. He leaned in, too close, his breath sour. List. Now. She nodded slow and began. The rhapsody spilled out, warped by the broken piano, its notes a jagged cry. Tommy tapped his foot, oblivious to the storm building in her. She played faster, the music a mask for her racing thoughts. The pipe was 5 feet away. She saw her father's blood, Tommy's hands counting cash from her gigs, her mother's empty chair. Rage surged, hot and bright. Mid-crescendo, she lunged. The pipe was in her hands before he blinked, swinging hard. It cracked against his shoulder, not his head. She wasn't him. He roared, stumbling, and grabbed her wrist. You little... She twisted free, slamming the pipe again, this time to his knee. He crumpled, cursing, and she ran for the door. Outside, rain soaked her, washing the fear away. She didn't look back. Tommy's groans faded into the storm. She'd left him alive, a choice her father never gave her. Her hands shook, not from violence but from freedom. She'd played her last note for him. Dawn broke as she reached Rosewood. The school was quiet, the gala's chaos a memory. Hargrove waited in the auditorium, his face a storm. Where were you? Donors are furious. She cut him off. I'm done hiding. His eyes widened as she sat at the grand piano, her uniform dripping. Dig if you want, I'll play anyway. She struck the keys, Chopin this time, soft and mournful, then soaring. Hargrove froze, then sat, defeated. Students trickled in, drawn by the sound, Lily among them, her smile a balm. Nina played, tears streaking her face, each note a stitch in a wound long festering. The past was there, scarred and heavy, but it didn't own her anymore. Days later, she stood before a small class, Lily and others, their eyes bright. Let's start with scales, she said, her voice firm, her hands steady. The piano sang under her touch, a partner now, not a chain. Tommy never came back. Word spread he'd limped out of town. Hargrove stopped digging, cowed by her resolve. The wiry boy watched from afar, his malice dulled to silence. Nina smiled, faint but real. She'd been a custodian, a fugitive, a prodigy in shadows. Now she was a teacher, a musician, herself. The music rose, and with it, so did she, into a life she'd finally claimed.